Well, good evening, everyone. A little rainy, gloomy day down here. Thought I'd come back on, even though my last video, I don't know if anybody watched. I guess nobody liked it too much. But all I can do is just be me and give my opinion. So it's a lot going on in the world. President Trump had his little speech before both houses, joint session of Congress, I meant to say, and you really don't expect a whole lot out of that. I think depending on who's president and which party is in charge, it's a big rah-rah session basically. And that's basically what it was. One thing that did bother me about that, I have no problem, obviously, if you dislike the president, that's fine. That's your choice. That's obviously, it's your choice. I do have a problem with so-called saints and or Christians that say they hate President Trump. Well, I question if you're a saint or a Christian if you hate a person. The only quote-unquote person we're supposed to be hating is the devil. So I question you. But again, that's your right. I think the speech could have went better. I think he could have made much more of a splash. Just about everything he said we already knew, except for them catching that terrorist that did all that stuff in Afghanistan during the withdrawal. That was basically the only thing new he said. Everything else we kind of knew. It is what it is. But yeah, I think that obviously to the Republicans it went well, and to the Democrats obviously it didn't. Another thing that bothered me was when the president comes in, just like in the military, if a senior officer enlisted come in, or when your pastor gets up to the pulpit, everybody stands. Well, the Democrats refuse to stand, which I think is disrespectful. You ain't got to clap, you ain't got to smile or whatever, but you should still respect the office, even if you don't like the person who's in it. That's just me. That's kind of one of my pet peeves. They choose to be disrespectful. I think it's Representative Green from Texas that stood up and was being, disrespectful as well, even more disrespectful. And they wouldn't sit down when they warned him to sit down. They refused to sit down, so that made him even worse. It's different if you stand up, say something, the speaker tells you to sit down, you sit down, you're done. Okay, fine. It is what it is. But he continued to stand and just, point his cane at folk. That lets you know he need to go on and get out because he's too old. Like Pelosi and a couple others, that's why we need term limits. It was just belligerent. He wasn't necessarily loud and out of control, no, but he was belligerent. He was being disrespectful, and he didn't do what the Speaker of the House told him to do, which was there's a decorum, which I agree with. There should be decorum. There should be a certain amount of decorum, even if you don't like the person that's speaking. There should be a certain amount of decorum. And the Democrats didn't observe any type of decorum whatsoever. They were very disrespectful. No, I take that back. They only observed partial decorum. Because for the most part, they pretty much were quiet through most of the speech. With a few exceptions. They were pretty much quiet. And so, whatever. I think the ladies that were wearing pink, they were doing that to represent some type of women's thing. They're hypocrites because they didn't vote for, the bill that would ban men from going into women's sports. So you don't really care about women. You're just faking it and trying to, be part of the crowd. That's all you're doing. You're a hypocrite. So that was a waste. The young lady holding the sign, that was stupid. But again, at least she stood up. Even though she probably didn't want to stand up. At least she stood up. So, I think that, again, the speech was, it was okay. It wasn't like out of the ballpark, outstanding or anything like that. Hopefully the real State of the Union address will be better. But, again, as I think we talked about on the last video, I don't have a problem with most of the things that he's doing. I think as a federal worker whose job is not for certain, I think that what he's doing is kind of what he's allowing to be done. Let me rephrase that. Is kind of chaotic, as I explained in the last video how I would have done it. I think there was a better way of doing it, where you could have gave people more notice and gave them more time. That doesn't that still doesn't necessarily slow down the process, but it gives people time enough to know what's coming. So it's difficult. The process is very chaotic, and it could be done better. I understand they want to get rid of the fraud, waste, and abuse, and there's plenty of it in the government. I've worked for the government a long, long time, and in the military a long time, and there's plenty of fraud, waste, and abuse. So I have no issues with that. I think attacking the money is a smart way to do things. Selling a lot of these properties, that's smart. Unfortunately, employees that are term or temporary or contractors or in a probationary, unfortunately, you're going to be let go. And that's in your contract. I was on probationary status, and it's in the contract. They let you know right up front. You're going to be on probation for a year, and then you can be let go for this and this reason. Now, whether those reasons they give you is the reason they're letting you go for this, I don't know. But they do let you know that you can be released. They really don't need a whole lot of cause to do that because you're on probationary status. And as a term and a temp employee, you're exactly that. You're a term up to 8 years at the discretion of the supervisor. And a temp, you're a temp. It is what it is. Contractors, your contract. And if the government doesn't decide to renew your contract with the company that you're working for, then, that's the way it is. So those folks, as bad as it is that a lot of folks are going to lose their jobs, they should know that there's a possibility they may not have a job because of their status. It's just that simple. If you're a tenure 3 and a tenure 2 in most cases, you shouldn't expect, and especially with things like this going on and probably a rift that's coming after March the 13th, you should expect you're going to be let go. You should expect it. And you should be preparing yourself the best you can. Especially if you're tenure 3. Okay, tenure 3s are your terms and your temporary employees, those type of employees. Tenure 2 are what you call career conditional, and those are the folks that are on probationary, those type of things. And once you serve your probationary period, most often or not, you'll become a tenure 1 employee. Okay. So it's just a lot going on, and the unemployment system is obviously not going to be able to handle it. And most government employees that are going to be let go aren't going to be able to draw unemployment anyways. They make too much. So, and the states won't probably have enough money to cover everybody. So, you try and solve one problem, and then another problem is going to exist. So, and even the private sector is not necessarily hiring, and these people that are being let go from their government jobs, especially if they've been in it a minute, they're not going to probably get the same pay, and definitely not going to get the same benefits. You can hang the benefits up. You're not going to get that in the private sector. You're not. You're not going to get that in the private sector. So, hopefully, people that need jobs will get them and be able to support their families the best way they can. And it's not to say, of course, you can't reapply to the government once once the hiring freeze is lifted and all that stuff ends. So, we'll see. We'll see. It's just, it's really chaotic. It's really chaotic right now, and so fluid. So, it's just a lot. It's just a whole lot. So, yeah. And then a lot of people, attacking Elon or Mr. Musk. I don't like to necessarily call people by the first names, since I don't know him. Obviously a successful businessman, and so he's trying to, parallel the private sector, which President Trump agrees with. They believe the private sector is more efficient, which in a lot of cases it is. And so, they're trying to, bring that quote-unquote efficiency to the federal government. And so his, Department of Government Efficiency is going through, and they're finding a lot of money, as he pointed out in his speech last night, a lot of money that shouldn't have been spent going to causes that shouldn't have been going to foreign countries that shouldn't have been going to. I have no issues with that. Now, there are arguments made, with foreign aid and stuff like that. Well, I think that should have been evaluated by a case-by-case basis. And you go from there. So, again, that's another hot topic too. But when it comes to him, all these people are like, well, he's unelected. Well, of course he's unelected. Anybody who has half a brain and has taken any kind of civics class knows that the only people elected are the president, the vice president, and Congress. That's it. Everybody that the president appoints, whether they have to go through congressional approval or not, are appointed. They are not elected. The Secretary of Defense, State, and all of them, they weren't elected. They were appointed. And those particular positions, cabinet level positions, have to be approved by Congress. Okay? Or the Senate. Okay? But Mr. Musk didn't have to. He's considered a special government employee. He's not elected. So people who keep saying that are stupid and idiots and have no clue on basic civics. You are not elected to most government offices. You are appointed or you apply in most cases. That's how that works. The only people elected are the president, the vice president, and Congress, meaning the House and the Senate. They're the only folks elected to office. Even Supreme Court justices aren't elected. They're appointed by the president and then approved by Congress. They're not elected. So I don't know what these people are talking about. That irritates the mess out of me because people don't have no clue about basic civics, basic government, the way it works. They just want to take it out on a man they don't like. I get it. That's fine. You don't have to like him. But to say that he's an unelected, who cares? That has nothing to do with anything. Of course he's unelected. That's stupid. That's absolutely stupid and idiotic. And everybody who says that is stupid and idiotic because they have no basic foundation of civics. And I understand they really don't teach civics in school anymore, and that's part of the problem. They need to go back to teaching civics. How government is run. How government, all that stuff about basic government. I know you can take classes in college. I took American government in college, but they don't teach civics in the lower grades. They don't, and it's a shame. So that irritates me. Again, you don't have to like what he's doing, and a lot of things he's doing, especially when it comes to money, is a good thing. Let's get rid of all that money that spent in places it shouldn't be spent. You know the old adage, you spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars on a ranch. That kind of thing. That's been obviously that we've been complaining about that for decades and decades, and it's obviously true. So, I think the money thing is something that definitely should be done. Even before they thought about, doing the employees, the money should have came first. By all means, definitely get rid of wasteful spending. Definitely, we got a humongous deficit we need to pay. Tariffs. I guess on its surface, it's not necessarily that bad of a thing if used properly. Again, we'll have to see. President Trump loves tariffs, so we'll see if it works. We'll see. We'll see if it works. We'll see if it works. And if it does, then he'll be proven right. If it doesn't, then he'll be proven wrong. It's just that simple. Ukraine. The issue with the press conference, prior to what was supposed to be the signing of the minerals thing, which the president said is going to happen, and they're ready to sign and all that stuff. But that was a fiasco. And what should have been, as was stated, what should have been just a ceremonial thing, answering basic questions in front of the press before they went to the table and did that whole thing. President Zelensky took it, tried to, take advantage of the situation by, trying to make a point that he wants, guarantees. Well, that wasn't the time or place for that, President Zelensky. And, and then you kept going after, the vice president, and then the president's like, no, hold up. And you just kept talking over the president. Well, that's disrespect. You're in somebody else's house. Okay? You're in somebody else's house. And when you go visiting somebody else's house, especially a country who is giving you billions and billions and billions of dollars to defend your country, you don't disrespect the person whose pocket, you know what I'm saying? You don't disrespect the person, one, in their own house, and two, the one that's holding the purse. You don't do that. That's stupid. And he was not smart, and I believe he's admitted to such, even if he hasn't given a public apology, which he needs to still do. The president was right. You need to show some appreciation, because the last administration gave you that money for free, whereas the Europeans were smart enough to do it as a loan. We gave, the last administration gave it to you for free. Didn't ask nothing in return for it. They just gave it to you. Well, all that, and I agree with the president, all that's got to stop. We can't continue to afford to give you money for free, especially in this current administration where they're prioritizing America first. We can't keep doing it. And I agree with that. I'm not saying that we should support Ukraine in their effort, but it was obvious, and he had said so, that he wasn't looking for peace. He was looking for security guarantees. He wasn't looking for a ceasefire. Well, you came to the wrong spot, because the president wants first a ceasefire and then a peace deal, because he wants the violence to stop. So you are already messed up coming there. And then you were trying to push your agenda when that wasn't the time or the place to do that. And so he was wrong. Now, Was Vice President Vance, did he probably go a little too far? Maybe. He could have did it better. And the president could have did better, but the president was just trying to stop. He was like, look, we're not here for that. You're in no position to bargain. That's basically what he told him. You're in no position to bargain, which he's not. And then he ended up getting booted in disgrace. And they ended up not even signing the deal. He just left. And then supposedly he tried to come back, but the president's like, nah, you've been disrespectful. No, you ain't coming back. And when you're ready for peace and all that, then we can start talking. But today, no, you ain't coming back. You done already made, you were already embarrassed, not only yourself, but us in front of the media, which already doesn't like President Trump for the most part. So why would you think they would allow you to come back? Of course they're not. No. So, in my opinion, President Zelensky was definitely mostly at fault. Again, the vice president and president probably could have been a little bit calmer and all that, especially in front of the press. And what they probably should have did, say, you know what, hey, we're going, I'm saying, we need to go ahead and sign this deal. And if he still kept going on, hey, you know what, everybody get out. And then in private, they could have went off and did whatever. But don't do it in public. Don't do it in public. Don't do that stuff in public. Don't disrespect the President of the United States in public, and vice versa. Don't disrespect the President of the Ukraine in public. Do that stuff in private. And why didn't you do it in private before you came out to the press conference? And all that should have been dealt with already. If you had issues, then you should have dealt with those issues in private, not in public. That's what I'm saying. So all that could have been handled better. Again, the majority of the blame goes to the president of Ukraine, President Zelensky, because you don't disrespect somebody in their house. You just don't. That's not how you do things. And vice versa. President Trump should be disrespecting President Zelensky in his house. That's not how you handle business, especially in public. Y'all should know better. Y'all should know better. So hopefully, if what President Trump said is true, he's ready to talk peace, he's ready to sign the deal, that we can move past all that and we can move on with the minerals deal and with at least a ceasefire. That should be easy to do, especially if both them and Russia agree to it. You start with a ceasefire and then you work from there. Stop the violence, stop the shooting, stop the killing, and then work from there. Hopefully this ceasefire will be better than the Israeli-Hamas ceasefire, which is tenuous at best. Okay? And has been done and failed many times. So hopefully that'll work better. And so, you go from there. And then if you get a peace deal with Ukraine and Russia, then you move on to the next major conflict. There's a whole lot of them going on. If you want to be a man of peace, hey, move on to the next one. There's a lot of issues going on with the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Hey, go try to solve that one too while you're at it. Okay? If you want to be the man about peace, Ukraine and Russia isn't the only thing going on around here. Okay? Israel and in the Middle East is not the only thing going on. Okay? With the thing with Gaza and all that stuff. That's not the only thing smoking around there. There's a lot of conflicts going around that you might actually be able to solve fairly quickly. Just saying, throwing it out there. You'll obviously never see this video. But, there's a lot of conflicts out there that are probably easier to solve than even the Russia-Ukraine one. So, I would like to see him do that. So there's just a lot of things in the news, and that, I kind of wanted to bring up some things that irritate me a little bit. And I think the president was right in what he said in his speech last night it doesn't matter what he does. The current Democrats in Congress, even if he cured cancer, would boo him and not clap because it's him. And I think that's sad and really shows a lack of, they say that the president is showing a lack of compassion and empathy. Well, they're doing the exact same thing. They're doing the exact same thing. They're hypocrites. And the Republicans have been guilty of it when everything was flip-flopped. So this is politics. So, you call it as you see it. And and so they're hypocrites. They were hypocrites all night. And I think that no matter what he does, he's going to have his detractors, and that's fine. You're always going to have your detractors anyways. But he even said, hey, look, I'd rather work with y'all. He even said that. He said, I'd rather work with y'all to get things done. He said that. So he is definitely willing to work with everybody. Again, quote unquote, he's a deal maker. So he doesn't care who he works with. Let's just get what we need to get done. You know what? I can respect that. And I can go for that. He said it in front of everybody. I'd rather work with y'all. But y'all don't want to work with me. That's why they didn't pass the bill that, bans, men from doing it in women's sports. Hopefully they'll get back to it and pass it. How could you not agree with that? How could you not agree with men not being in women's sports? How could you not agree with that? But there are people out there that are so in the pocket of the LGBTQ community that don't care about common sense or biology or anything like that, that they'll always vote against anything that's against that lobby. And all politicians are guilty to some extent. But some things should just be common sense. Basic biology should be common sense. Heck, there are saints and Christians out there that don't like anything that President Trump does at all, regardless, but yet will vote for the Democratic candidate that's unbiblical. I'm confused. And then don't say anything on their social media criticizing the things that are unbiblical. But everything that President Trump does, you criticize and you post on social media about how bad he is. But yet you didn't say nothing when President Biden was in office or when President Obama was in office about the unbiblical things that they did. You said absolutely nothing. You were silent. So you're just as guilty as sinners and people out there in the world when you don't say nothing, even though what you see or what they say is unbiblical and against God. You say absolutely nothing. You're a hypocrite. You're worthless. If you're going to criticize President Trump, then also criticize the Democrats for what they do that's at least unbiblical. At least unbiblical. If you're going to disagree with everything President Trump does, at least disagree with the Democrats when they do stuff that's unbiblical, or don't vote for bills that would restore biblical principles. At least be consistent. You can vote for whoever you want, but be consistent. But a lot of these saints and Christians aren't, especially in the black church. Any Republican they're going to disagree with vehemently, but they're going to agree with the Democrats that a lot of them vote for, even though they do a lot of things that are unbiblical. And I'm sure the white church is just as guilty when it comes to Republicans. That's why I'm against politics in church, because it's ugly on both sides, and church is not the place for that. And yes, you have every right to say whatever you want on your social media page, but when you're a leader, you have to be careful what you say, especially on social media and in public. And just because you can doesn't mean you should. And Christian leaders should know better. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Everything is lawful, but not everything is expedient. And you should know that before you start posting on social media. That's why, for the most part, I keep quiet. This is the only place I voice my opinions and beliefs and whatever. And I have no problem if people disagree. That's fine. Just, as always, be respectful. You know, as far as I know, it's still a free country. The president declared that freedom of speech is back last night, so we'll see. I don't know. I didn't get nobody viewing my last video. Again, maybe nobody liked it. That's fine. Your choice. And they may not like this one. You know, the president declared a new golden era in America. We'll see. You can't declare that until, you know, a bunch of other things happen first. Okay? You can say that because in your head you believe that everything you're implementing is going to work. But that doesn't mean it's going to work. So we'll see. If the tariffs work, great. You know, if you can get rid of income tax, federal income tax, great. If the bill passes that gets rid of tax on tips and Social Security and all that, great. And I'm all for that bill. I think people who live off of tips shouldn't be taxed on them. I think that's fantastic. And the Democrats should be all for that. They should be for the minimum wage person, the person that they when they go eat at their restaurants, they may or may not tip. They should be all for that in their little fancy restaurants that they eat at. Everybody should be for that. Who wouldn't be for that? Who wouldn't be for that person that lives off of tips? Who wouldn't be for them not being taxed on the little tips they do get? Who wouldn't be for that? Who wouldn't be for not taxing Social Security and some other things I can't remember was said in that same bill? Who would want to tax old people, senior citizens? Who's not for that? I don't understand. It's a crazy world we live in. And last night just showed how polarized not only we are in this world by race and ethnicity, but by politics as well. Ain't nothing got any better. Even if the economy gets better and all this other stuff gets better, you know, the polarization is not getting any better. Because again, politicians are politicians, and most politicians have no common sense on both sides and truly really don't care. Because if they truly did care, then they would work together to forward things that help all people, not just their constituents or not just the people they agree with. I don't know whenever that's going to happen. I guess that's never going to happen because when Jesus comes up, probably still be fighting. You know, I don't think the kumbaya moment will ever happen, to be perfectly honest. But, you know, one can try to be positive and try to do things. You know, nobody knows how to agree. Nobody knows how to agree to disagree. You know, and that's a whole nother issue. You know, nobody knows how to agree to disagree. And, you know, so I don't know. This is what I was afraid was going to happen. You know, so yeah, you know, it's you know, it is what it is. You know, last time I was able to get a little bit farther, but not today. I might as well get in this lane, because staying in that lane I won't be able to get over. So might as well get in this lane. But you know, it's one of those things where, you know, there's no shortcut that's going to really be any faster for me. Not right here. That's you know that. Anyways, I'm in traffic, y'all. But anyway, so that's what happens when you get off late. You can't help but get into this traffic, and it's a disaster, and the state of Alabama hasn't done nothing and probably won't. the city of Birmingham and Mountain Brook and all the communities around here ain't gonna do nothing. So it is what it is. Anyways, back to what I was saying. I just wanted to kind of express that and just kind of, bring up the current topic. Some things that kind of bothered me a little bit. There's some other things too. When they fired the, Joint Chiefs of Staff and a couple other generals and admirals. Let me say this. Every new president usually brings in brand new people, to include the chairman of the Joint Chiefs. Normally, they're only there for the term of that particular president. So it's not unusual for a chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff to be fired. So I don't necessarily know what the big deal is. I guess the big deal is because he's black. I'm sure that's what the big deal is. But in a lot of cases, when a new president comes in, he brings in all new people, to include generals, especially the Joint Chiefs and other chiefs. They serve at the pleasure of the commander-in-chief. So, yeah. I think that, I think that, again, I think it's because he was black. That's why. Pure and simple. It's unfortunate that that's probably what it is, but that's what it was. Again, what makes you any different than anybody else? All these other folk in here that need to get over just like you and not even appreciative. Not even appreciative. Just roll up in here. Everybody wants to get over just like you, man. So, again, I'm in traffic, y'all. I apologize. These folk don't know how to drive. So, yeah, it's one of those things where, people are making mountains out of molehills. And if it's about his ethnicity and race, then we're already off to the wrong start. President could have kept General Brown on. I mean, that's his prerogative. He's a commander-in-chief. Who is anybody to tell him who he can and can't have as a general? I don't know what his motives were. I know that General Brown was supposedly part of all that DEI stuff that he didn't agree with. He was appointed by President Biden, I believe. So maybe he just didn't like him because he was appointed by President Biden. That's his choice. You ain't got to like it. That's his choice. And General Brown should already know that. Should already know. When you get up like that, you're a politician, basically. Your job is not secure. Yeah, you're still going to be in the military, but your job is not secure. But most people that, if they get let go like that, most of them are going to retire. You make chairman of Joint Chiefs, more than likely you get let go, you're finna retire. Because it don't get higher than that, obviously. So, it's just the way it is. And that's just how I feel. Again, a lot of people didn't, disagreed with it. They disagreed with, he fired a female admiral. I think the Coast Guard commandant. I think the commandant of the Coast Guard, I want to say. I think that's who it was. They didn't agree with that either. People aren't going to agree with everything that you do or half of what you do or whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is he has the right to do it. It's just that simple. He has the right to do it. He's a commander-in-chief. And he can hire and fire anybody he wants. The only, you know what I'm saying? He can hire and fire everybody he wants. You know, and all these people are screaming, well, you know, there's a process when it comes to federal employees. That's fine. Follow the process too, but he's still the president of the United States. He can fire anybody he wants. Process or not. He has every right. So, you know, it's just, you know, it is what it is. So anyways, I've been on here long enough. I apologize for my distractions a little bit with all this ridiculous traffic. But yeah, I just kind of wanted to talk to y'all about all that. So again, like, subscribe, set the notification bell, obviously give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. I appreciate any and all thumbs up and comments. So far, everybody has left a comment, has been respectful. Even if you didn't agree with me, you've been respectful. Again, I appreciate that, because that's the only thing I expect, is people to be respectful. If not, it just be deleted. Okay, and obviously, if you continue, just be blocked. You know, I don't have to put up with that, and I wouldn't do that to anybody else's video. If I don't agree and I want to comment, then I'm gonna be respectful, because it's their channel, it's their thing. You know, everybody's trying to be a success on YouTube, or trying to, you know, everybody's trying to do something. You know, people make a living on YouTube. Obviously, I don't have enough people yet to do that, to get monetized. That would be great. But no, I don't, you know, I just come on here because it's just an outlet. And I hope, you know, somebody enjoys it. You know. But anyway, so let me go. I will see y'all on the next time. It might be a little shorter on the next time. But again, I appreciate the few subscribers I do have. And man, there's just people out here driving like nuts. And I appreciate the subscribers I do have. And I appreciate all your likes and comments. I really do. And I'm grateful for it. Very grateful for it. But yeah, until next time, I will, sorry y'all, the sun is like literally right in the windshield. So I will let y'all go, and I will see y'all the next time. God bless.